And the top of the evening to you on a Thursday night McFiles. We're always grateful to have my old buddy, the one and only, the Elvis protector, the financial advisor to Bernie Madoff. Oops, maybe not that second one, but definitely the protector of Elvis, Brad Johnson, former CIA operative. I've just had a good time with this old guy. We know each other. It's hard to believe we're going on 6, almost 7 years knowing each other, Johnson. That's pretty good, you know. I don't have exes that I've known that long, so that's pretty good.
I'm just the only guy that puts up with you, Chris.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And we are looking forward to having some one-on-one personal fellowship with you soon, buddy. As I told you before the show, we're headed your way sometime in October. It's been a fun run with you. You know, we've always had some awesome shows. We always enjoy having you, and I always get great feedback from the audience. And you're part of this McFile clan, and we're grateful for you. And it's good to have you tonight on a Thursday night. And let me just say this to the audience, folks. We will let you ask Brad a few questions at the end. Just let us discuss a few things here at the beginning, please. And we'll get to your thoughts and questions at the end tonight. Brad, I hadn't talked to you in a while. We've had the debate. We've had several things happen, and there was a breaking news story tonight that the Georgia situation is crumbling. This lawfare seems to be crumbling under the feet of the Dems. They are trying everything they can to basically get Trump out of this race. And look, I'm just going to go ahead and just slay the elephant in the room. I firmly believe, and look, even Melania Trump has come out this week and said that we need to get to the truth of what happened back in August with this assassination attempt, because there's still a million unanswered questions. They cremated this kid faster than the Titanic went down in the North Atlantic. And I'm telling you, it's just, and I watched that debate. I tried to watch it. I put it like this. I watched it in clips. I couldn't listen to her voice. We got grief. People was being smart alecky the other night. They said, well, if you didn't watch the debate, you ain't got a right to comment. I got a right to do whatever I want to do. I got Brad Johnson protecting me, and I'm the host of the McFiles. I've got the right to say whatever I want to say. But I did see clips of it, and I tell you, man, this is a train wreck. But the scary thing about it is that you've got a third of the country tonight that does not see this party as being communist or evil or going to do anything bad to the country. You got people applauding Kamala Harris tonight, and she is as fake as a $2 bill. And I got a few other vernaculars about that, but it's just a family show on a Thursday night. Sometimes it is. I should have you on late at night when we can just have a lights out Johnson McDonald discussion. But I do want to go back to the debate, what your thoughts were about it. And I just feel like, I have to say my first reaction was I didn't think President Trump did as good as he could have done. But then I've had to sleep. I've been able to sleep on it for a couple of days, and I believe ultimately he did come out on top, because it basically what it did, he didn't lose any ground, and he's not going to debate her again. He said that tonight. I think it's a smart move, but because she's not going to debate fairly. And we got a breaking story we'll deal with tonight. ABC is the loser. ABC is the all but crap network. And when you have CNN calling you out, you got a hell of a lot more problems than Kamala Harris's fake earrings that may have earbuds in them. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, all good points, and I kind of tend to agree. I mean, I don't think debates can be important, like the one with Biden was devastating for Biden. There's just no question. It was what got him out of the race, was that debate performance. And if he'd just stuck with his game plan of hiding in his basement and going on vacation, he'd probably still be the candidate. But instead, he agreed to the debate, and Trump outfoxed him on that one, because he set up a debate that was completely favorable to him, and Trump said, okay. And Trump did the same thing here with Kamala Harris. And in this case, I actually kind of tend to think that those earrings were, in fact, earbuds and stuff, because she just didn't speak the way that she normally does. Everything was a little bit different. And she had some answers and stuff. So I think those were in there. I think she was being prompted behind the scenes. I think she was aware of the questions before they were asked. like ABC has done in the past. This is not the first time that they would have done that if they did it. So I think all of those things took place because they were all in for Kamala Harris. And it's been widely reported. Kamala Harris's best friend is the head of the newsroom at ABC. So these people that were the interviewers in this, or the supposed neutral parties there that were doing the questions, those guys work for her best friend. So, there's just, it's just all lined up in such a way. I think all of those things took place personally because of her performance. Her performance wasn't bad, but here for me is the bottom line. Trump did okay. He wasn't fabulous. He didn't,
exactly.
get in every point he could have, especially on the economy, although he did a lot of good stuff. But he did okay. But here's the difference. What Kamala did say was she spoke in liberalism. And, she never said anything. She would speak in metaphors and say, I want to do good for the entire world, and I guess I want to do good for everybody so much, And, she talks like that, which is, of course, meaningless pablum,
Yeah.
And I actually saw, Rush Limbaugh kind of summed it up once many years ago, and I'm wearing his shirt tonight in honor of his memory, but he summed it up very well once when Bill Clinton gave a speech. And he made a comment, well, there's not really much to analyze in the speech because he didn't actually say anything. But for liberals, everything he said was full of meaning. And I think that's precisely what Kamala Harris did. What she did was she spoke to her hardcore left-wing base, and she was using all the metaphors and saying basically over and over and over, I only want to do good, I only want to do good. And that was basically her point. So the liberals lapped that up. They thought that was great stuff, even though she never said a frickin' thing, nothing.
No.
But that's how they look at it. They view it as good. So you've seen all the left-wing people going, oh, she was great, she handled it, Trump was terrible. Because what did Trump do? Trump kept trying to talk about issues. Well, they don't care about issues, so it depends on your perspective. Now, for us, Trump is the only one that actually said anything, and Kamala Harris was a train wreck. For the liberals, Trump was the train wreck, and she was saying all the good stuff. Now, here's the important part out of it. The independents who tuned into this debate tuned in to try and figure out what they thought of each side. And Kamala Harris made no sense. So for those people that are the non-committed independent voters, she was a disaster to herself. She badly hurt herself. That's the only thing that matters, because the decided liberals and the decided conservatives or Republicans are already going to vote for Trump, and the liberals are already going to vote for her. So that little chunk in there of those independent voters, she did not do well. And she's not doing that well among black voters. She's not doing that well among Hispanic voters. And she's not black. She's like Hindu Indian type. And now she tries to get out there and speak with that kind of fake black accent and stuff that she never has spoken with, that's not her. And I think she's turning off a lot of black voters. And I've read a lot of interviews with blacks just kind of on the street sort of stuff, and the mood is not pretty for her among them. And, you see Jake Tapper and Don Lemon and Don Lemon and guys like that are hard left core, talking heads for the mainstream left-wing media out on the street trying to interview people, and they have to give up and go away because nobody likes the Democrats. So I think that she hurt herself when it comes to election day with the independent voters, which is the one thing she cannot do. Yeah. So in that one single way, I think the debate was important.
But I think it's an excellent analysis, and I was just, as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, debates very rarely. I think, and we had our buddy James Akers on late Tuesday night, and James pointed out, and I had already pointed it out earlier, that other than the Kennedy-Nixon debate, which a lot of people to this day say, had you heard the debate on the radio and not seen Nixon so disheveled that night, because he had not shaven, he wore a terrible suit, tan was just, he looked like just an old man compared to this young whippersnapper Democrat. He was, and Kennedy manhandled him, with the optics of it. And I think the optics, and I love what you said, because ultimately, Brad, these elections always come down to the independents. And she may have got her liberal buddies all fired up Tuesday night, but she did not get what she wanted. And I think that's why they went out immediately after. It was telling. They went out immediately after the debate and said, we want to debate again. And see, this is coming from the same lady that has not done an interview for 50 freaking days. She just put her policies up on her website, which I understand is nothing but a cut and paste of Joe Biden's stuff. And I think two telling things. Going back to the black situation, Joy Behar today had Usher on their program, the rapper. And she was begging him to endorse Kamala Harris, and he basically slapped her down. And she said, well, don't you think Trump's a threat to democracy? And from what I understand, Usher said, nope, I sure don't. And I mean, again, you're right. They are pandering to this base, and I think this base is catching on. I think the black community is catching on to the gig. They're catching on to the joke. They've been used for several election cycles, and they always use to get the votes, but the Democrat Party does not care for them. They only want them to exploit them. They've done this forever. They will do it forever. And I go back to the Jewish community as well. The Jewish community is the same thing, Brad. I don't understand why a Jew in America would even think about voting Democrat with the way the Democrat Party has treated Israel. They betray Israel at every corner. They basically push these anti-Semitic protests. Nobody's condemning these on the left. They think it's fun. They think these kids have a right to say, kill the Jews, F the Jews, murder the Jews. That to them, that's apropos. That's good on the Dem side. They don't see the evil in it, but yet you've got these constituencies. And the other thing I'm curious about. Do you think that this made her almost get to the point that she is going to be arrogant and start actually running her mouth? Because there was a big moment in that debate, one of the clips that I saw, they asked her, what do you say about people that say, are you better off 4 years ago than you were, or tonight than you were 4 years ago? And that was a famous Reagan quote. That's what Reagan basically did when he whipped Carter, and just, one freaking going away, and then he trounced Mondale in re-election, just losing one state, and that was Minnesota. But I think that she could, when she failed to answer that question, to me, the debate was over. Because let me tell you something, we all have seen the grocery prices over the last 7 years. We've seen the gas prices over the last 7 years. We've seen the mortgage costs over the last 7 years. We know exactly how the country feels. We've seen our foreign policy over the last 7 years. And we've got a comparison now. We can look at what Trump did from 2016 to 2020, and we can see what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did from 2020 to 2024. There's no debate. Your choice is clear. And if you can't see the choice, then I think Johnson's got a speak dial psychiatrist that he uses a lot. He can give that number to you tonight. But am I right about that? I mean, basically, the debate is out here in this public because the public is not better off 4 years tonight later than they are in Joe Biden, and they cannot escape that no matter how much they slick up Kamala Harris and make her out to be Pollyanna Mary Poppins. They can't do it.
That's actually all correct. I agree with all of that. That Don Lemon interview that I kind of alluded to, he was in New Jersey, which is a hardcore Democrat state, and he was out on the streets trying to interview some people, and he stopped this couple and asked them about it, and they're going, "Oh no, these guys are nuts. They're ruining the economy. Everything is terrible. It's way worse now than it was before." And Don Lemon's going, "No, that's not true. Things are much better. This and this, they're way better." And the guy starts laughing. He goes, "What do you watch, CNN?"
Cannibal. Exactly.
Yeah,
well, actually, he used to work for him, but
they're not fooling anybody with this stuff, and that's absolutely right. All of us go buy bread at the grocery store, or milk, or eggs, or whatever it is. Gasoline prices, and everything is going up. And Trump has already laid out beautifully, and it's absolutely true. One of the first things he's going to do is bring back down gas and diesel prices. Once that happens, everything in every grocery store, 99% of the grocery stores in the United States is trucked in. So if you lower the price of diesel, you lower the price of food. and that's one of the things he said was going to be the very beginning of his next administration, is to lower those prices so that all of the other commensurate prices go down as well. Well, that's concrete, makes sense. Everybody looking at that's going to go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yes, everything is trucked in, trucking gets cheaper, prices get cheaper. Yay. And he'll be able to do a lot of other things. Normally it takes about a year for a lot of the interest rates to come down and all of those things to start happening. When Reagan came in, it took him about that first year to get through all the BS to start getting the results. But Trump is going to have some almost immediately with the gas. But within that first year, assuming he does indeed get elected, we're going to see the economy turn around and things get a lot better.
Another big thing that happened, I want to get your opinion about it, was Mershon, the judge in New York, basically just delayed the sentencing today. Fannie Willis's case began to fall apart. The Georgia appeals court knocked out 2 of the RICO cases against Trump, basically saying she didn't have authority to bring him. And I think the same, if the appeals court in New York was right and they were not with their heads up their asses like they are, based on that law principle, Brad, I'm not a lawyer, but based upon that very thing, that to me is the same case. It's the same issue with Bragg. He's bringing charges against Trump. This whole thing with Mershon and him was based upon a case that he had no legal right really to bring, because they're trying to make it an election issue. They're trying to make it a federal issue, an election interference. And Fannie Willis was basically told today, you've got no right to do that. This is not your wheelhouse. It's unconstitutional what you've done. And do you think that that this lawfare has failed, or do you think they're going to dig in? Because look, we've still got a month and a half before this election, and there's a lot that can happen in October. I keep warning people, we don't elect presidents in September. I know it probably the polls are looking favorable tonight, but we don't elect presidents in September, and we don't even elect them in October. We elect them the first Tuesday in November when we go vote. And if all of this stuff starts falling apart, I know it will help him. But I just got this sense that they ain't shot every, I don't use the pardon this pun, they've not shot every bullet in their barrel against him yet. I think there's still some stuff out there they're gonna tell what is coming in October against him.
If I were to predict, and I'm not the only one to say this, there's been others that have said something similar, but lawfare is harder to kind of gin up timing and surprise and stuff, because there's so much procedure involved, and judges and the lawyers have to disclose to each other what they're doing and things. So an October surprise using lawfare, it would be hard. I'm not saying impossible, but that would be very difficult to do.
Good point.
They could, maybe unwrap some new charges or something like that, but nothing's going to happen until after election. And everyone's kind of made up their mind on that score too. It's basically, anyone who's normal and rational sees that this is political. You cannot be a rational, intelligent human being and not see that. You may like it, but you can't look at it and go, well, this is completely non-political. You just can't. So I don't think that will be their tactic. I agree with you that they've got some October surprise stuff coming. I would say more along the lines of what they've done that has essentially worked for them, because the lawfare stuff has, by and large, not done well. Everything is backfired that they've succeeded in, and all of the other things have been failed under the weight of being crappy cases. But what they've done and they've kind of succeeded in was like the Russian hoax.
Yes.
Now there's some dangers there too, but I would guess, I think the October surprise is going to be along those lines, because they've already got a lot of people out there in liberal la-la land who think that, Trump is some sort of Russian puppet, even though I don't know if you saw that interview with Putin, but I actually watched it and I speak some Russian. So I'm listening to this thing and they're asking Putin, now Putin, love him or hate him, I don't really care. I just analyze him as a guy and kind of predict what I think will happen and not happen. As an individual, I could care less, but as a person, if you analyze him, he's fairly straightforward. He's not, he'll hold his cards close to the chest sometimes, but if he comes out and says stuff, he'll answer questions and do things like that. And if you look back at that Tucker Carlson interview they did, he was pretty straightforward in that, fairly straight shooting guy. So they asked him about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. He goes, "Oh yeah, I support Kamala Harris now, absolutely." And that laugh, everything must be okay. And he kind of giggles, at this, So the liberals always talk about how everybody hates Trump and they make fun of him and all that stuff. That was tongue in cheek. He absolutely was laughing, head over heels of the idiocy of Kamala Harris. So of course, who would he want elected? He wants Kamala Harris elected. Of course. Because she's stupid.
She's stupid. Exactly.
And they're not going to do anything, that's going to hurt him very much. So, they're saying, there'll be Trump and all that. But Trump is the guy saying he's going to cut off so much aid to Ukraine. And the Democrats are the ones saying they're going to pump more into Ukraine.
I saw that.
Well, so how does it make any sense whatsoever for Putin to want Trump? That's idiotic to begin with. And he was making fun of her. That's what he was doing, is making fun of her. He laughed at her laugh.
One of the comments that she made that was very disrespectful when she turned to him and said that the world leaders hate you, or the world leaders make fun of Trump. I think that was almost projecting what has happened to us under her and Joe. Because, Brad, you're in the international field. You've been there, and you know, look, the international leaders of the world, they may not, I think it's almost a badge of honor for them to hate our president because, President Trump's not running for the president of France, or he's not running for the president of England. He's not running for the president of Norway or the UN or any of these other scumbag countries. He's not running for the presidency of China. I don't care if China likes us or not. In fact, I like it when China hates us. I'm glad Z is mad. Z's mad tonight. He's claimed that his name got brought up during the Trump debate and his name wasn't even mentioned. But I mean, this is crazy. But I look at it this way, and I'll let you chime in on this. When countries hate us, that means we're probably doing it right because they respect strength. What they don't respect is this weak-knee PY weakness in the White House that lets them run all over America. Because, look, every nation in the world, they eat that stuff up. They're glad that they got somebody in here they can run and manipulate and do their thing. And all these tyrants and these dictators can get away with stuff they get away with. Hell yeah, they love that. Hell yeah, they don't probably like Trump. I'm actually taking that. If I'd have been Trump, this may have been one of the errors that he missed, I would have turned to her and said, I'll take that as a badge of honor, Kamala. At least they don't run over my ass like they did you and Joe for 4 years, and we've got basically the Iranians now on the brink of a bomb. We've got Israel being attacked by Hamas. We've got the Ukraine-Russia situation out of hand. That would have never happened under my administration. I mean, I would have just laid into her right then and said, I'll take that as a badge of honor because if they disrespect me, I hope they do. I hope they're all scared as hell of me because if they blank with the United States, Brad, they're going to feel the wrath of McDonald. Let's see.
Yes. A couple things on that. Her comment is true within a little bubble in which she lives. What used to be called the Socialist International, now it's called the European Union. That was a joke, by the way. And the Socialist International is this group of the leadership, and you've got the dipstick in Canada and France, and the Germans are left wing, and all these countries that are run by this Socialist International that have formed the EU. And you've got these unelected appointed officials that run the EU and are making all these decisions. And the impact that they can have on everything is just stunning. I mean, they're deciding what size motors can go in your vacuum cleaner, for God's sake. That's the EU, these unelected people getting into the sticks of things like that. So now those guys, they're all kind of like philosophically like Biden and Kamala Harris and all. They're kind of extreme left-wing socialists. They're nut jobs. But they have this ideal of the whole world coming under the United Nations and just being one world government, and they're pushing all of these ideas and this philosophy out all over the world. And you get a guy like Trump in there, and of course he's this cowboy and a bull in a tea shop sort of guy, and they hate that. So they hate that passionately. So if those are the only guys you talk to, then yes, you're going to think that the whole world hates President Trump, because those guys do hate President Trump. But the problem with that is that they're just a little tiny piece of the world. There's a whole bunch of other people out there, even within the EU, you've got countries like Hungary where they don't hate Trump.
No, they don't.
And there's a lot of other countries out there that have some respect for Trump. And I agree with that too. My immediate thought would have been, if they hate me, I'd have said, they also fear me.
Exactly. Exactly. Brad,
that's what it was with Trump. They were very cautious because they knew Trump would do something. And he would. And they know that Biden would not.
Do you think Hamas would have ever... I don't think Hamas would have ever dreamed of doing what they did on October the 7th to Israel with Trump in office. I don't think that Hamas... Because you think about it, Brad, we've had Americans killed in this thing. And see, this is the way I look at it as a citizen, but I put myself, if I was president, and God help the world, if that day ever comes. I am going to put you, I'll ask you to be my vice president, though, if I do. Because you would be my voice of reason. Before I would go over there and kick the hell out of everybody, you would say, calm down, Mac. But this is the thing. Yeah, I was about to say that. I didn't know if it to get me yanked by YouTube, but yeah, the McDonald finger on the red button would not be the best thing. But this is the thing about me. I hurt for Israel when it happened on October the 7th. I did. I hurt as a citizen. I love the Jewish people. I love the nation of Israel. I believe that there's a biblical mandate that we have. But I'm talking about the presidency now. I'm talking to the political realm. The second one American's blood was shed over there by Hamas, and they've killed, this hostage that came back was an Israeli American. These 6 hostages that came back, it was an Israeli American citizen. There's other citizens. I understand there was another American killed yesterday in the West Bank. The second that American blood was shed, to me, that's an act of war on behalf of Hamas. I'd have picked the phone up to Bibi Netanyahu. I'd have said, I'm sending the Marines over there. I'm sending my troops. And yes, I know people out there will say, we don't want to get involved in the Middle East. You've killed American citizens. Hamas would have not known what's hit them. And I would have not ever condemned Israel. I would have been out there telling Hamas, you've hurt American blood. And as far as I'm concerned, if Israel makes your little hellhole a crap hole where it's the size of Texas and California and New York combined, I'm going to let them do it. And I'm not going to raise a finger to stop them. And I'm fully supporting Israel. And I would tell the UN to blank off and stay out of their business because they've killed American blood, Brad. But see, that's what's missing in our foreign policy. We used to do that. We used to not let countries do this to our people. Because, see, that is a president's job, is it not? To protect its people from domestic enemies, domestic and foreign. And if they can't do that simplest thing, is that not their oath? That's the first thing, their oath. They've been given an oath to protect the people. And I'll ask you a question, buddy. You're a former CIA guy. Do you feel safe in this country tonight? Laying your head down with this bunch of ragtag clowns running it with Johnson? Lloyd Johnson is the Department of the Defense head?
Well, certainly we're less safe with all these yahoos in office that we've got now. They're basically clueless. Me personally, I think I'm okay because I've got a wall around the house and plenty of ammo. So I'm feeling okay about the situation. But certainly the country we're a lot less safe. I'd say one of the things what is important out of all of this is Hamas is not the more dangerous group out there, but they're the one being used right now.
That's true.
But all of this comes out of Iran, and Iran is the actual enemy going on behind it. Now, they're also cooperating with Russia and China mainly, and a lot of other little countries too, that the cooperation between Iran and North Korea for technology and things and rockets and those sorts of things are very well known. But I think, looking back, where was the mistake made that lands us in this shithole that we're in with this stuff?
Absolutely.
And I would actually lay a big portion of the blame on George Bush, the son, when he was president. Because when 9/11 took place, he had the go to from the population of the United States of America to go do what it takes. And what did he do? He attacked Iraq. Now, Iraq was not the problem. Iraq was a problem, but was not the problem.
Well said.
But it was something that he could define and do. So for political motives, he picked Iraq. Well, that was asinine. That was a very stupid mistake. What he should have done was gone after the root cause of the problem and gone into Iran.
So
the Iranian people don't like this government that they have. The Iranian people are much more willing. They have a long history as Persians. They would be much more willing to have their own government, not this extremist thing. But they're under very tight control there, and you don't disagree with the regime, they'll dig a hole and shove you in after 2 shots to the head to prove it was suicide. And if that had been done at that time, we would not be having the vast majority of the problems that we have right now. And Iran is very active in Latin America. I think some of the problems we're seeing with Brazil, just by way of example, a lot of those problems are because of this association with Iran. I mean, they are a kind of worldwide problem on a region by region basis. They're not worldwide in the sense of going everywhere doing everything, but they're certainly a problem in the Middle East. They're certainly a problem in Israel. They're certainly a problem in Latin America. I mean, they're a problem in a lot of different areas. And if George Bush had sat down and said, okay, what's the best decision? Now I can go do something. Where do I strike that does the most good? He would have gone after Iran, and he did not. Like I said, he for political expediency picked a place that was definable, easy to go get, and was a problem. Like I said, he didn't go after the problem. He went after a problem.
It's an excellent point, man. That is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a moment. We were a couple of years into the war, and there was a Democrat push since they basically were threatening Bush that if you did go into Iran, they were going to impeach him. And this was again, I remember this because at the time Daschle was the House Speaker, and he was the Democrat leader, I should say, and there was a concern that he was going to do that, but it was too late. I'm with you. The resources that we wasted in Iraq, and yes, it was a problem that we found out later there was no weapons of mass destruction there unless he sent those to Syria.
Well, and there were weapons of mass destruction, but again, it kind of gets into the definition. There were rockets there that could have been blasted off all over, and they did have poison gas in them.
Right.
So those are weapons of mass destruction. But they weren't nuclear, and I think that was sort of the threshold that people started putting on it was, well, there's no nuclear warheads on those. Right. No, there are poison gas warheads. Poison gas is, a weapon of mass destruction.
I don't think we've ever talked about this. Where do you think he sent those? Do you think that he destroyed them before we got there?
No, we found them. I've seen pictures of them.
Have you? Wow. Well, the media's never told us that. That's interesting.
And George Bush, afterwards, after all of the evidence came out, there were photographs and they had the rockets and everybody even could go look at them, and they were trying to bring press in and everything, but the press had so damned him over not finding weapons of mass destruction. He said, well, we lost that one. It's no use going back trying to fight it now. That was a decision by George Bush. Again, to me, I look at it and go, wow, that was a stupid-ass mistake. Why? Of course you should have.
Absolutely, he should have.
All the reporters and bring out all the peacenik organizations and let them look at the rockets.
Speaking of Bush, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to get your opinion about Pence, Cheney, both Cheneys, saying they're going to not vote for Trump, and Liz and Dick are actually. Dick's on the white boys for Kamala train. But Pence, I know that Pence didn't like Trump. It somewhat surprised me, though, he would come out and verbally say it publicly that he was not going to vote for Trump. She made that an issue also Tuesday night, that there were so many quote-unquote Republicans that are against him. And there's rumors that Chris Christie was helping her debate prep for Trump, of all people. When you hear that stuff, look, you're in the Beltway, and you know the way things are in D.C. Is there still, you would have thought after 4 years of this bullshit, and I almost did a bad word, of this crap that we've had for 4 years, that even the Rhino Republicans would see that if she gets elected, that this is going on steroids. But Brad, it just seems like the Trump hate, it's not abated. They still hate his guts, even the Republican Party, and I don't understand why. Because do they not understand that the Dems are not going to, they're their friends right now because they're trashing Trump, but they're not going to be their friends once this is over. The Dems don't give a blanking you-know-what about the Republicans. These rhinos, they're going to have their asses handed to them, and they're never going to have power again, because I will tell you what's going to happen. Trump's base is not going to forget this crap. I ain't going to forget it. I wouldn't vote for any of them for freaking dog catcher. I wouldn't vote for Mike Pence if he was running for the flea catcher of the zoo. I wouldn't.
Well, maybe if he rolled around and got the fleas on him, that would be okay. Let's talk about this one. That would work. Well, you're looking at it again from the perspective of what, like all of us do, as American loyal patriots, and then that is what's good for the country and what's bad for the country. But these politicians don't view it that way. But let's take Chris Christie, for example. Chris Christie and then Mike Pence. Chris Christie was shut out of the Trump first administration because of Trump's son-in-law. That kid's dad got put in jail by Chris Christie as a prosecutor.
Gotcha.
So he hated Chris Christie and made sure that he didn't get into the government. So Chris Christie wants revenge. That's why he's out there doing all the stuff he's done and why he ran for president. All of that is revenge, and also hoping for something onward, which then puts him into the category of Mike Pence. Mike Pence had figured out, I mean, he politically destroyed himself in the Republican Party. No one will vote for him. He's done. He's dead, just absolutely dead. So what choice does he have? He has to go to the Democrat Party. So what is he doing? He's coming out trying to help Kamala Harris, hoping for that, in the spirit of bipartisanship, she's going to make him Secretary of, Transportation or whatever. And that's what Mike Pence is after right now, is to be this Republican, the middle of the road kind of guy, and he'll be rehabilitated by going into a Kamala Harris administration. So that's what all of those guys are doing. Now, that is in combination with, and this goes back to one of the mistakes that Trump made in his first administration. When he came into office, he thought that everybody was going to see that he was trying to do what's good for the nation, and he, with open arms, welcomed all those rhinos into his administration initially through the Wisconsin political mafia, with the Speaker of the House was from Wisconsin at the time, and his chief of staff that he brought in was from Wisconsin. It was that group of people, and they brought in all these rhinos. Those were the guys that stabbed him in the back, that hated him from the beginning, that were trying to destroy him from inside, and those are the guys that are still against him now. And Bill Barr, same thing. Now, Bill Barr has come out and said he's going to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
But Bill Barr has been on a speaking tour for 2 years. All he does is badmouth Trump on that.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, but Bill Barr was out of the Bush camp. That's where he came from. And Bushes hate Trump. And Bush, the son who's still alive, thinks that Trump killed his mother because Trump was, made up nicknames for him when he was with, for Jeb Bush. When Jeb was trying to run for president, he was making up nicknames for her, and it's so pissed off the mom that, she died. He's convinced that that's the truth, which, after all the years her husband was president, her one son was president, and all the bad-mouthing of those guys all through those, a decade or two.
Exactly.
That's what kills her?
I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, is Barbara Bush dead because Trump said a few bad words about Jeb, who was a jackass and, basically destroyed Florida? And look, and I will say this about Bush Jr. I think because the blowback on the Cheneys has been unreal with the right. And I don't think Bush Jr. was too keen and happy about the fact that he did not want his name lumped in with that. So he's not going to go out and vote for Kamala. He said that. He said, I'm not going to endorse Kamala Harris. He said, I'm not going to do that. And he didn't say he's going to endorse Trump either. I've got to ask you a question. This is, and we got about 10, 15 minutes here. What do you say to the people that are out there tonight? And there's a growing number of people that are not going to vote for either candidate because they are this middle of the road kind of people, and they don't have any moral character about them. They have no moral clarity, and they don't see the distinct contrast between the two candidates. They just think both of them are evil. They either hate Trump's personality and his tweets, or they see Kamala Harris and they see the liberalism, they see all the stuff she supports, so they really can't do that, because God forbid that they would be seen supporting that. But then they look at Trump and they make it a personal issue. They make it about his past, his wives, or whatever. And they sit at home and not do anything. My opinion, by not voting, you're voting. You're voting to continue 4 more years of this hell that we're under. Is that Brad Johnson's view, and to a degree of a no vote?
I think so. if you don't vote for Trump, you're voting for whoever else you do vote for. You're voting for the same crapola to continue. I would say for any of those people that you're mentioning there that don't know, they don't want to vote for either candidate, they want to do something else. Well, you guys, you can write in the name Chris McDonald in there, and we'll start a campaign for Chris. And I promise I will hide the red button from Chris. Whatever it is, I will keep that under lock and my control at all times.
Oh, it would only. I've told everybody that my first press conference. That's all it would take. It would just be the first press conference. I'd bring you on. I'd bring James R. on. James R. would be my press secretary. I'd make you Department of Defense head. I'd put you over all the 3-letter agencies. You would be my Homeland Security director, and I would say clean this mess up. I'd let James R. talk to the media. You have to know James R. I think you were on a panel with him one night. James R. is James R. He just likes the fire up, likes the air up. But my first press conference would be the first and the last. Because I tell this media to shove this crap up their asses so bad. They would not be doing to me what they do to these other cats. I just wouldn't let them do it. I'd say, y'all write about me what you want to, but you're not. And I think Trump had even made the suggestion while he's in office one day. He said, these press conferences are not part of the Constitution because this elitist press, they think they're entitled to go in there and do this. And they're not holding Kamala Harris to the same standard. Brad, this lady ain't given an interview in 50 blanking days, man. They're not saying nothing about that. And they don't care. Trump, gives them, he goes into their hostile territory and he takes their crap. Vance was taking the crap tonight about the eating the animals in Springfield, Ohio. I got a dear friend that lives up in Springfield and I'm trying to get a hold of her because she lives there, and I guarantee you, I don't doubt that the people are eating rats in this country. I don't doubt this crap. I believe it's going on. And Trump, all he did was mention it. And I'm not saying he should have, spent as much time on it, but it's worthy of mentioning. My God, you got people eating rats in America because this is the state of the country. And it's going on in other nations, Haiti, and it's going on in Cuba tonight. I saw a story tonight on Breitbart. They are hundreds of people, thousands maybe, they're taking pictures of these people, Brad, going into trash cans, big trash bins, just to find food, man. That's how communism destroys countries, man. And that's what we're voting for or against in November. And if people don't get that, I don't know if anything we can tell them tonight's going to change that. I don't know how to fix that. You can't fix that.
Oh, there's no fixing stupid, but
no.
Don't forget Venezuela. I mean,
Venezuela.
People have been starving to death and eating their pets and things like that there under that regime. Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, I've lived under a communist regime, working, and it's definitely no picnic. And it's one of those things that I wish that I could show people here in the United States through my eyes what it's really like. And there's people that swear by it, and I've had discussions with people about these sorts of things and can go on and on and on. I can speak to it in a great deal of detail because I've actually been there and lived it. And none of the other guys, none of these liberals have, none of them have. They don't know anything about any of that stuff for real. They just have this philosophical perspective of what they want to do. But yeah, it's all of those things are a mess. I do want to say one thing about Trump, and that was, as you were talking about this stuff, I think is very important. And, Trump, he did get a start from his father. He had some money and stuff, but he did turn that into a multi-billion-dollar business for himself. And you don't become a billionaire by being stupid.
No, you don't.
So I think, a lot of people say, oh, well, he's got this huge ego and stuff. Okay, well, how many billionaires do you know that don't have an ego? Are there any anywhere?
No.
Because all the billionaires are egotistical guys because they made themselves billionaires. So they have a reason to be a bit egotistical. At any rate, Trump learns, and he has figured this stuff out. And I hear him say stuff, things that I have been preaching over the last 4 years, I see have been picked up and I've made a lot of inroads in. I mean, it's not given back to me, but a lot of the plans now, people have refined and they're moving with it and they're going on. Trump is picking very carefully now who he lets into his next administration. he wrote off all this Project 2025 people. That I don't get why he doesn't say kind of more clearly what that is. That was the Heritage Foundation did that, not Trump.
That's right.
He didn't ask for it. He didn't even know when they started it up. It was the Heritage Foundation that organized all that. And the Heritage Foundation tried to go get as many Trump administration people as they could to come into that Project 2025. And Trump never had anything to do with it and has said, I'm not going to use it. There were a couple parts that were okay I might look at, but I'm not going to use that Project 2025. So he had nothing to do with it to begin with. But the point is, he has learned and figured it out. He knows where the problem is, and he started to say things like that these three-letter agencies, like the FBI, for example, have been politicized and weaponized, and we need to clean them out and put them back to work doing the work of the nation, not the work of the Democrat Party. He is saying stuff along those lines, and we've seen them go out, and on a state-by-state level, they're also doing lawfare rather. They've had one of the states where they ran a case where they had to throw out something. I don't hold me to this number, but like 100,000 voters because those people had moved away to another state or had died or were not U.S. citizens or any combination of things, and they forced them to take them off the rolls. Removing not valid voters from the rolls is a big deal because that makes that pot of names that you can use to cheat on votes much smaller.
Yes, it does.
So these have been very important victories. Now it's incremental, but he's had 4 or 5 good victories of that nature out there. So he has figured it out. He's learned. He understands it. A lot of people were questioning that aspect of Trump because of his mistakes from his first administration. He didn't get it then. He does get it now. I'm completely certain. I'm 100% sure based on what I'm seeing and from what I've been told from the Trump people.
It's great, man. Folks, we've got about 10 minutes tonight. If you got a question for Brad, I'll read those out to you. Please keep them on topic. If you got a question about what we've been discussing tonight, and I'll run it by him, both in Facebook, X. Good to see you tonight, all the Rumble folks, and we've got a very large audience tonight for Thursday night. We're grateful to have everybody in. We really are. But if you got a question, we'll be glad to ask, my dear buddy. Buddy, let me ask you about, I'm going to go back to this voter roll thing. I know Wisconsin, there was a judge up there a few days ago that ruled that 140,000 people that were illegals, or I'm not sure what the dynamic was. They either did not, it was voter ID. In other words, if you don't have voter ID and they were registered, they were to push by the Republicans to get them removed off the rolls, and the judge said you can't do that. Well, Biden only won that state by 20,000 votes. That's a big number of people. I know that our state down here, Brad, in Tennessee, we don't play around with it. I mean, if you don't have an ID, you're not going to that voting booth. You just ain't. And it causes long lines because they have to vet everybody. But I'm okay with that. That's why I go vote early, because I beat the lines and I don't care. But I'm proud of my state. And it goes back to integrity. Is it fair? Because you've been all over this world. If a country doesn't have a fair election, my friend, we got nothing, man. We can't, if we got to worry about this every election cycle without it being cleaned off, and I'm with you, I think Trump has seen the light, and I think that once he gets back in this office, I'm praying he does, that a lot of this will be cleaned up, I'm sure. But you got to get him back in, and right now they are stacking the deck in these states, because 140,000 people, that does swing an election. That swings an election one way or the other, does it not?
No, absolutely can. I would say, and yes, voter integrity is extremely important. But if you go back, what is the building block? And what I've watched in countries where they've been under assault or taken over and all of these things, it goes back to the justice system. That is the cornerstone of being able to do these things. Right now, what we have is a Department of Justice and an FBI who are politically corrupt at the leadership level. Not all the way down the line, but at the leadership level, they're completely corrupt. And they have been politicized and weaponized, and they're in bed with the Democrat Party. And they're not doing the work of the nation, they're doing the work of the Democrat Party. So what happens with that type of corruption is the system starts to break down, which is what we've seen. And it's a ripple effect. And what we're seeing now is where that ripple effect hits elections. And if the Justice Department, and if the FBI were doing their damn jobs, they would have seen all this stuff and go in and done investigations from 4 years ago, and they would have arrested 400 or 500 people, and they would have put them in jail. If they had been doing their job, we would not have this problem now. The fact that they're not doing their job is why we have this problem. And that is what Trump has specifically said he's going to try to fix. Yeah. So God bless. I mean, let's hope that he can actually get that done. And that's not going to be easy because these guys are deeply entrenched within all of the federal government. The only guys that are even vaguely free of some of that stuff, I would say, is the military. Because they're so big. They're just so big, it's hard. But all these other groups are very small. The FISA court is it's turned into a piece of crap. The DOJ's turned into a piece of crap. The FBI, at the leadership levels, I'm saying, like I said, not at the lower levels, but it's just, they're all a piece of crap. You can't trust them anymore to do their job.
Let me, this is a great question from Eve Sparks. She says, would you say it's better to vote early or wait till November? Because there's a lot of debate, and this is the thing that the Democrats have a huge advantage over us with, Brad. They go vote early. They vote in massive numbers early, and the Republicans tend to vote when Election Day comes. And what's your thoughts on that? I'm sort of mixed. I mean, I don't really, I see advantages in both, but, it really ultimately, what did Stalin say? It's not so much or Lenin, one of them. They said it's not the vote that counts; it's the people that count them. I mean, they can cheat either way. But if you had a conventional wisdom, which is best, which is better, voting early or voting during November? That's a good question, actually.
It is a very good question. Now, what Trump is out saying is telling everybody to vote early, and he's watching these systems. So I kind of defer to his judgment on this, and so I would suggest everyone try to vote early. I agree with you that I can argue either side of this as to which is best, but Trump is saying definitely vote early. So he's been looking at this for a long time, looking very hard at it. So I'm going to assume his information is superior to mine.
Okay.
I personally have been of the opinion that voting on Election Day makes it harder to cheat, but I don't think that's the dynamic anymore, and I think Trump probably is right. So I would say, let's use the Democrat tactics and vote early and vote often.
Good deal. Dennis Floyd, great question too. Do you think that Trump ultimately will form a new party from this MAGA thing? Does this MAGA movement for 28 moving forward form a new party? Because it does seem that the old Republican Guard, Brad, is gone. The old Republican Guard just is not connecting with most American people. I'm not a big fan of third parties. I've never been, but I'm not so sure that may not be what it takes. I'm just curious what your thoughts are. It's not a bad question. But do you see Trump doing that, or do you think it's something down the road that's coming?
I would say zero chance of that. I don't think there's any chance that Trump would look at doing anything like that. I don't think that something like that has any chance of succeeding either. What I think the better solution, what I would offer as an alternative is what I think we're doing is we're voting out the rhinos and voting in the conservatives. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think, is a movement that's growing and taking root. And I think what we've seen over the last 8 years or 10 years of how these elections have been going, that a lot of these positions are hardening and people are much more willing to vote in conservatives. So as that cadre of conservatives within the Republican Party is in there for longer and grows bigger and stronger, and they've already got a voice, they're going to start being the senior people that are in there. So I think we're on the right track. It's not moving as quickly as I would like, but I think we're at least heading the right direction. I think that's the way it'll end up.
Yeah.
The conservatives will eventually take over.
Yeah. Corey Aguilar says about Trump not wanting a second debate, do you believe that's a mistake? I actually don't. I think that I wouldn't debate her. I wouldn't, and I'll tell you why, because they're going to do the same thing to him again. She's not going to go on Fox. She's not going to go on a conservative network. I mean, He was debating 5 people Tuesday night, literally. I mean, it was crazy. Those moderators for ABC, and I understand there's an investigation. It was breaking late tonight on Gateway Pundit. There's somebody in Congress that's opening an investigation up into their handling of this debate. I mean, it is election interference, Brad. I mean, you can't sit there if you're going to be a news agency and do it. I mean, I know that this was the plan with the Biden at first, and Biden was basically eliminated by the Dem Party. But if I was Trump, why put yourself through that again? I don't think it's a mistake myself, but Corey's my dear friend. I tend to disagree with it. It's a mistake. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, first on investigating the debate, I agree. This was indeed election interference, and NBC was interfering with the election because they took sides.
Absolutely.
Clearly took sides.
Absolutely.
And it was apparent to anyone who watched it. If you're a liberal, you like it. If you're anyone else, you hate it. But they clearly took sides and were interfering. But again, this goes back to the Department of Justice and the FBI. They don't enforce the law anymore, and if it goes against Democrats, they only enforce the law if it goes against Republicans. And then, by God, if you're a grandmother that walks into the Capitol, you're going to jail. So that's how they work now. On the debate itself, was it a mistake to turn it down? I mean, if the second debate was going to be organized like the first one, then it is absolutely not a mistake to turn it down. If I were Trump, what I would have said is absolutely, but now it's my turn. Here's my conditions.
Right.
I accepted
I understand
all
what
the
you're
conditions
saying.
last time. So be an adult, step up to the plate, and let's turn it around my way this time. And if you're willing to do do to debate with me what I did to debate with you, then absolutely we'll do it. If you're too much of a coward to have an honest debate, then screw you. That would have been my attitude.
To Corey's point, though, and I do understand the question because Chelsea Clinton is out there tonight. Of course, who gives what Chelsea Clinton thinks? I knew it was going to happen the second he did it. They're calling him a coward. Chelsea said he's afraid to debate Kamala again, and that's going to be the drumbeat probably over the next several days. I personally don't give a rat's blank and a turd crap what the media says about name calling Trump a coward. Look, I don't think anybody in their right mind, Brad, would have went into that debate with ABC with those parameters. He did, and I give him a lot of credit for even doing it. I wouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't have. I think that on an up-and-up fair shake, and look, I got to say this about Kamala Harris, and James made this comment Tuesday night. Somebody got to her and prepared her. Now, whether it was being during the debate with those fake earrings, okay, whether she was getting fed all this crap during the debate, or whether somebody coached her. There was one person that claimed that she had acting lessons. I won't doubt that somebody was teaching her how to act, because it did come across as just fake. I mean, she was so fake during the whole hour and a half, that smile, that cackle. I mean, it was just like her facial expressions. And it's the same thing that Hillary did to him in 2016,
Yeah, it is. They're very similar.
It's just similar. It was very similar. But these debates don't help nobody ultimately, because, again, you can win a debate and lose an election, and you can also lose a debate and win an election. I think it comes back down to the American public and the voters. Go take your message to them. Screw these media types, because all these things turn out to be as food fights anyway. And if they're not going to talk policy, because ABC didn't want policy, they did not want to talk about policy with Trump. Every time he would do something, they'd fact-check him. They never fact-checked her. She lied so many times, I swear. Even the devil himself, who's the father of lies, was sitting there probably thinking, oh, my God, I need to get this chick down here quick, because she's out lying me, right? But
the thing is, for her, those lies don't matter, because her constituency, they don't care about stuff like that. What they want is that, like I said, just her out there saying sort of metaphors and representational stuff and emotional arguments like, oh, I only want to do good for the world. I want to fix everything for everybody. I want everybody to be happy and peaceful and nice, and a chicken in every pot, and that's so she was saying those things. So her constituency was perfectly happy with all of that. But like I said, any rational human being listening to it came away with her being basically nothing. She didn't say anything. That's why I think it hurt her.
Two more quick questions. We got to run out of time. Do you think Vance should debate Walz? I do. I think that the vice presidential debate needs to go on. I don't have no problem with that. I don't know what the parameters are on that one, but I don't see nothing that's going to, because we don't. It's like the vice president debate's another thing. It's like it's window dressing. It's just media hype. They're going to sell a bunch of ads to it. If I'm President Trump, Vance, I don't think it's going to hurt him. I don't know if he's going to help him. But Waltz, I think it will show the country what kind of man Tim Waltz is more than J.D. Vance. That's just my opinion. There's a part of me at this point, I'm just sick of it all because I'm just wanting to just get to November. And this political stuff is enough to make us puke. That's why Americans are turned off by it. Your thoughts on Vance and Waltz? Should it go on?
Well, I guess I would agree overall that I don't think it makes that much difference.
It don't.
I will say J.D. Vance. Every time I hear him, he's fairly impressive. I mean, when he was initially picked, everybody was making fun of him and stuff, saying what a terrible pick. But the more he speaks and is able to make his points and stuff, he's really good at it. And I think as a debater, he would be really good.
Yeah.
So I would say, it probably, if he gets out there and absolutely trounces the Democrat, I don't think it makes that much difference. And I think that's what would happen. And I think if he, broke even, it still wouldn't make that much difference. I would say the good part about it would be for J.D. Vance and his long-term political career, because I think he would come off so well doing it that I think he should. But that's for him. That doesn't help us right now with our problem getting Trump elected.
It don't, and that's the main thing. I'm with you there. I'm with you 100%. I don't have a feeling either way about this. I'm not all giddy about it. I'm not all concerned about it. I just think that Vance needs to make sure that he's prepared because he's going to get the same treatment that Trump got. And again, even tonight on CNN, it was pathetic what the girl was asking him and just making fun of the comment. And that's the only thing that they can tie. They're hanging on Trump tonight is the comment about the cat eating and the animal eating stuff. No policy. And let me just say this. I want to say this, and I got one final question for you, and I'm going to address it myself too. This thing with transgender surgeries for the inmates that she's willing to pay money, she lied over and over about that on that stage Tuesday night. And even Time magazine had to come out and issue a retraction. Time, let me tell you something, man, when CNN and Time turn on you, you're screwed. I'm sorry. I mean, these two most liberal rag networks and newspapers and magazines in the freaking universe, they had to come out and say, yeah, Kamala, you actually did say that you would support that. And she supports transgender surgeries for illegals. She said it, right? That's exactly what she said. And I'm sorry, but when you get caught red-handed lying in a debate, you would think that would have repercussions in the American public, but it did not move the barometer one bit with her base. Her base thinks that's, as you said a while ago, they think this is just wonderful. She's wonderful, just great. I got a final question for you. It's a touchy question, but I've heard people ask this about the military, and Carrie's asking the question. She says, how does she phrase this? She says, will the military just let communists take over America? Aren't they supposed to honor the Constitution? I wanted to say one quick thing, and I'll let you answer this. I do not believe in any circumstance, I don't care whether it's our side or their side, we want the military taking over the country. And no matter what the threat is, because Brad, you've been in third world countries, brother. We don't want to see this because the military is not the answer. We vote. We vote. We vote. We vote. And I hate to say this, we are a free country. If America chooses that, that's America's choice. Am I being too naive about that? Where does the military stand with this? I know that's a sort of a weird dynamic to even think about, but what's your thoughts on that?
I would say that there are almost no circumstances under which the U.S. military would try to intervene in the political system. I would say it's very close to impossible. I would, if, you could come up with some kind of wacky scenarios where the president is assassinated and Chinese troops move in, or, if you could come up with some scenario like that, they would maybe move in under circumstances like that. But under anything normal that we've ever seen, the U.S. military is absolutely never going to consider stepping in and, taking charge and appointing somebody president or having elections or anything of that nature. Anything that would be taking over, they would never consider.
Buddy, it's been a great night. Thank you so much. This is one of our best interviews we've done. And now, listen, we've got about a month and a half. I'm probably going to call on you a little bit more than normal over the next few weeks to come be with us. I know we try to get you on once a month, but hang loose because we could sure use you inside, and you did a great job tonight. Got any final thoughts before we wrap this up? It's been good. Good stuff tonight. Any final thoughts?
Well, I've got to say, I'm actually fairly optimistic. I think we're going to do okay. I think in a fair election, Kamala Harris has no chance whatsoever. I think Trump would win big. The only question out there is will there be cheating, and if so, how much? But I'm fairly optimistic. They're now kind of Trump came out the other day and said, if you guys cheated this election, we're going to go after you. So don't do it. So I think he's doing what he can do to try and stem the tide of the cheating going on. So I'm, based on everything I see, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm very hopeful that as in whatever that first Tuesday date is, I don't know if that's the 4th or 5th or what.
It's 5th.
Okay.
5th of November.
I'm hoping that the next morning on the 6th we wake up and President Trump has been reelected. And after they shot at him, I kind of went back to those guys, talked to a few of the people in the that are on the Trump team, and said, hey, I'm in. Screw this stuff. If you guys need my help, call me because I'll go. Well, that changed the dynamic for me is when they shot him, and they got him in the ear there. That really pissed me off.
Me too. But one of the questions asked, would you consider being an advisor and part of his administration if he asked? And I'd give a hearty amen to that. We need you, man. Hey, thank you for your service and thank you for your friendship. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And I may, we'll talk about this off camera sometime, but I'd like for you to at least, because we're going to be on the air election night, probably starting about 8 o'clock. And we're going into the night. Now, I know you can't stay with us late, but we'd love to have you as a panel member as we watch these results come in. And maybe we can get you on at least for an hour, 30 minutes or so, because we'd be an honor to have you to be part of that.
It'd be fun. Look forward to it.
Look forward to it, buddy. Brad Johnson, everybody. Buddy, thank you so much. I'll see you soon, man. And who's got the tab this time, me or you at the steakhouse?
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Okay, let me write this down. I'm going to McDonald's then.
No, well, that's the problem. You pay. When I pay, we get steak. So I'd rather have the steak.
Tell Elvis I said hello. God bless you, man. Bless you, Freddie. Brad Johnson, everybody. Put some fire in that house. And we're grateful for my dear buddy tonight. That's a good interview. That is a great interview tonight. Thank you, Brad Johnson. Always a pleasure to have him on the show tonight. And he is very good. Elaine, yes, he is very seasoned. He's had 30-plus years of training, and he is one of the he's one of the good guys. He's one of the good guys. And Brad is very encouraging, Susan. He really is. Ginger, I'm with you. No need for another debate. It's just theater. I'll agree with that. I totally agree with that, 1,000%. I don't think it benefits Trump. It don't benefit the country. It's just more fodder for the media to have more sound bites. That's all they were after Tuesday night anyway. And we're gonna have a late show here at 11 tonight. We got a brief news update, and we got some things we want to share with you tonight late. I'm gonna be a little bit less formal than I was. I always like to dress appropriately for my guest, even Brad Johnson. I appreciate Brad. I joke around with him a lot. We've developed a friendship. We just rag on each other. We just have a good time joking, and he's just become a good friend. And but I really, really, really respect his insight, and I tend to totally agree with Susan that his words are always encouraging, and at least he's going to tell you the truth, folks. Look, you can say what you want to. You ain't got to agree with what he's saying, but I know he's telling you the truth, and it'd be wise to listen to him. And I was glad to hear tonight that he's told the Trump people he's all in if they need him, because he would be a great asset to this country. I really believe that. We would be very well served to have Brad Johnson serving in the upper echelons of our government. We just would. We truly would. And I know that would do that. Let's see here. There was somebody in Facebook. I wanted to read a comment or two off of Facebook before I leave tonight. Lori Farrell had said some things, and I was in agreement with her, and I wanted to read a few of her comments before we say goodnight to you, at least for now, and then I'll be back. We'll do a little bit more less formal show tonight, and we'll take your questions again if this will come up for me. Give me 1 minute. We're a little frozen there. Lori made the comment. She says, how did the cackling chameleon Kamala turn into a conscience-controlled performer, and how did the moderators have all the fact-checking info on spot? Those two questions, Lori, have to be asked, and there are people asking them tonight. There's a possibility this investigation is going to be launched into... That was interference, what they did Tuesday night. It was beyond interference, and those are questions that need to be asked and answered. Now, whether they will or not, who knows? Who knows? I mean, who knows? But I'm with you. I'm with you 1,000,000%. I really am. And you know, she was very well coached by somebody, because that Kamala Harris Tuesday night has not been the Kamala Harris out there even for 4 years as the vice president. She has had no control of her words. She has done nothing but just word salad, as people call it, and to come up and look like the greatest debater in the world. I mean, and I'm going to just go ahead and go on record. I totally believe, and I think Brad sort of alluded, he believes it too, that there was something in those earrings that they were speaking to her. And again, we don't know that for fact, but I tell you what, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. And the one of the women was her sorority sister in college. I think that's a little conflict of interest. David Muir worked with the Biden administration briefly. That's a conflict of interest. And again, folks, if this would have been reversed and this would have been, let's just say that Trump would have had somebody like Roger Stone moderating, or he would have had somebody that was in his administration before moderating, do you not think the media would have been going up in smoke over that? And she would have never stepped foot in that debate forum in 1,000,000 years with that kind of stuff. You see, she would never go on a conservative panel that is slanted toward, and I wouldn't agree with it. I don't believe Trump, that should be fair. That's not fair for either candidate. I wouldn't want Trump to do it, and I wouldn't want her to do it. But the media has no problem with them doing it. The left. It's a good question, Lori. I don't think we got an answer, but we should. We should. We should. And I appreciate the question and comment. Let's see here. And that's the other thing that they're trying to determine. We got a meme, not a meme, but Chuck Calestro, who is a great person on X, said that ABC did funnel her the questions. That there's a whistleblower that's coming out that's going to say that they did exactly that they gave her heads up of the questions, and that's why she was so relaxed. And they had given her promises that they were going to fact-check Trump all night, that she didn't have to worry about it being fact-checked, and she sure wasn't. We're going to follow this. I will say this. I want to say this before I close. I was not really critical of President Trump Tuesday night, but I was concerned about his performance. Magdalene expressed that. James expressed that. I talked to James R. a little bit after the debate Tuesday night. I said, how do you think Trump did? And all James R. said, he said, great, but not excellent. And I think that was sort of my feeling. I felt like he did good. I wasn't going to give him a great. And I think part of my trepidation was I expected a knockout. I expected him to just run roughshod over, and he didn't do that. And while the reasons for that can be a myriad, whether she was coached, helped, or whatever, it just, the blowout didn't happen. But I think after watching the last 48 hours unfold, it's apparent the American public saw through what they did Tuesday night. And in that vein, he won. Because ultimately, it's not so much how your enemies judge your performance. Your enemies are never going to like what you do. And the enemy media is going to, again, like Brad said, claim that Kamala won and Trump lost. And the right-wing media, the extreme right, is going to say Trump won and Kamala lost. That's going to be a wash. The dividing factor, the deciding factor is always that public. And just based upon what I've seen over the last 48 hours, the American public got it. The American public saw the gig. That means Kamala Harris lost. Kamala Harris lost. Newt Gingrich had a good comment. We're going to get Newt's sister back on Susan soon. He said that the loser Tuesday night was ABC, and he's right. The loser was the All But Crap Network. But the Cannibal News Network started eating their own today because CNN said the same thing. So, anyway. All righty. Listen, we hope you enjoyed Brad Johnson. We're not done tonight. I know we've been putting a lot of shows out late night, and it's election season, folks. There's a lot of news that we want to cover. We're not going to be on late tonight. We're going to go about a half hour, 45 minutes probably. We'll take some more questions from you then. Come back, be with us at 11 o'clock Eastern. I'll see you then right here on the News Network, same networks that we've been on tonight. Thank you for all you ex-followers, Rumble, and to the people in Rumble that said I don't have a right to discuss the debate because I didn't watch it. Well, who said, how do you know I didn't watch it? Sometimes Chris says things tongue-in-cheek, and I saw enough of it, and I'll just say it again. I didn't need to watch the debate to make a decision on what they were going to do. They did exactly what I knew they were going to do, and I knew exactly how it was going to play out. I knew exactly what Kamala Harris was going to do, and she lied, and we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight on The Late Show with a cowboy hat on. So come on back and be with me, because we have some good old times here on the McFiles at late night. May the Lord bless you out there tonight. I'll see you back here in an hour.